What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. I've already done this video, but the question keeps being asked. And I think what I need to do is I'm going to remake this video. I'm going to combine it with a few other groups. And then maybe I just put it into a playlist of something more, one of my newer videos. So that way people can just find it that way. But one of the main questions I'm asked a lot, I guess I can't say main question. Some of the main questions that I get asked repeatedly over and over have to do with residents, Christians, and people who are not from California that enter the California Department of Corrections. So this video is to once again explain how things work, how they will be treated, and basically what's expected. It's pretty simple. Let me start it off with this, though. Those of us from California, we hear about, you can hear it on YouTube. There's people from other states that say, if California dudes go to their prison system, we can't walk their main lines. Well, I don't know how big of a flex that is if one dude hits a yard and everyone else there hates California and it's one dude. Now, if he's seasoned and he knows what he's stepping into, he would, I would assume, get off and decide, I'm going to do all my time from the oil. And every chance he gets, since people are bragging about trying to punk dudes from California, they would attempt to victimize anyone they come in contact with. At least that's the way I'm thinking. That people would be like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I ain't gonna let you victimize me, right? So with that said, again, we hear about that constantly. How us guys from California ain't shit, and when we go out of state and whatever. Knowing that and having said that, when people come to California and even on the streets, there is so much going on that nobody cares if you're from another state. That means you're not a threat. Like, orale, okay, do your thing. When people come, people from out of state come and do time in the California Department of Corrections, first of all, you're going to have to decide who you're running with. And once you make that decision, those are your friends. No, I'm not going to say friends. Those are your homies. And they're going to back your play as long as you conduct yourself like a man. Period. I have done time. I've said this before. I remember two dudes from New Mexico that ran with the Southerners in the CDC. I remember a dude from New York who ran with the Southerners. I know for a fact I want to say 2 or 3 dudes from Arizona that ran with the Southerners. So they had no hard time. They were treated like everyone else because, see, here in California, at least if you're running with the Southerners, you are not beholden to your Sally or I want to make sure that you guys understand this. So the raza from up north have a hierarchy. There's a chain of command. The Southerners, for the most part, everyone is equal. There are obviously people have juice, people have pull, whatever you want to call it. You have the legends that everyone has to listen to under them, right? There are 4 different factions that have legends. I don't say the names and people get all fucking crazy because I use the term legend. That's fine. That's their issue. I use it to be respectful, but also because those men don't admit the existence of those organizations. So why would I? Right? But when you come over here, you're expected to conduct yourself like a man. Keep your nose out of other people's business. Don't talk about business that doesn't pertain to you. And just do your time. Don't stand out. Don't put the spotlight on you. People are going to know you're not from California, and there are some people that aren't going to trust you. However, if you have proper leadership in place, nowadays the legends are out, so you don't got to worry about it. But I'm speaking from my time. If you have proper leadership, where you're from doesn't matter. It's just like when you could be from the biggest, craziest barrio in California. When you get to the joint, that doesn't even matter no more. You're dealing with a whole bigger issue. Yeah, it's cool to know where you're from for identifying purposes, but your barrio doesn't mean nothing. It's how you conduct yourself. Now, residents, that you fit in the same exact category right there as far as the fact that you are not from a barrio doesn't matter. You're still a crook and a criminal, now a convict, as long as you conduct yourself and carry yourself like a convict. That's what's important. There are people who have entered the California Department of Corrections who were not from a barrio and made it to the top. Where you're from doesn't mean you have balls. I don't know why some people think that because you're from a barrio, it gives you an advantage. No. The biggest advantage that you will have ever in that world over anyone and everyone is this. The biggest advantage is your ability to read people, to read situations, and to see things 5, 10, 15 steps down the line like a great chess player would do. Understanding where you are at all times, situational awareness. Always keeping in mind that there is no such thing as a frivolous question or a frivolous conversation. Because you could be clowning with somebody that you consider your so-called friend. There's no such thing in prison. But you could be clowning with someone who's your so-called friend. And situations may change to where now he is your rival. But see, you still conduct yourselves towards each other as if you were still friends. But you know he's plotting on you, and you know you're plotting on him. That's the way it is out here, right? So that frivolous joke and that frivolous conversation, that frivolous question that you had a year prior, it's still in his head. The way you answered, the way you think. You know, it's like in poker when somebody's bluffing and they get somebody to fold and they don't show their hand, they just throw it away because that's information. They're going to remember how you acted, how you spoke, how you moved when you bluffed. Same thing in prison. We study patterns. When somebody, and that's why out here, a lot of times, our women, our loved ones, think that we're tripping when we notice your program out here. Everybody's program is pretty much the same. Everybody gets into patterns. And when they get outside of the pattern, what's the reason? Out here, it could be something frivolous. In there, somebody could get paranoid because you changed your program. And next thing you know, there's a tag on your toe. That means you're in the morgue. Or you're in the hospital. Or you're just hurt. As far as people that are in California, the California Department of Corrections who are Christian, it goes back to everything that I've said. How you conduct yourself. If you come in and you say you're Christian, you still have to house with somebody, though. You have to let the Department of Corrections know who you're going to house with. And that group is probably going to may have some expectations of you. I'll give you an example. The riot of 2000 in Pelican Bay. All raza on the yard. Keep in mind, there were no bulldogs. There were no northern raza on A facility or B facility, the two main lines in Pelican Bay, after 1998. This riot happened in 2000. So it was understood, it was made completely clear. All raza are expected to participate in this race riot. Anyone not participating will be dealt with. And I talked about, and this was a friend of mine because he wasn't in the game. He was a Christian and he was from my area. He was from Chiques. He was convicted, had a life sentence for murder that he didn't commit. There's people in the area that know who I'm talking about. Him and some other guys went to Santa Barbara, went to a nightclub, got into it with the dudes from the east side. The dudes from the east side followed them into a parking structure with which they must not have known. You never let dudes from Chiques get to the trunk of their car. These dudes let them get to the trunk of their car. It led to several of them being shot, one of them killed. The homie that was in the bay with us was a Christian. He was an army dude when he was convicted of that murder. He was a Christian, but he told me he was in a dilemma because he was in the same building with me. And we were, contrary to what people say, see, when they show the riot in Pelican Bay, they're only showing what's referred to as the 3-yard. Beef facility is cut into 4 sections. There's 1 yard. What they call 1 yard is 1 and 2 block. 2 yard is 3 and 4 block. 3 yard is 5 and 6 block. 4 yard is 7 and 8 block. 5, 6, 7, and 8, they open the gate. They can all mingle. That's what you see. Whenever they show the riot, they're showing 3 yard. It's a level 4 yard, but they call that section of the yard the 3 yard. On that section, that portion of the yard, the raza was outnumbering the blacks. The 2 yard, which was 3 and 4 block, I was in 4 block. We were very outnumbered by the blacks. So the homie, the Christian homie, he had a conversation with me several times leading up to the riot. He said, I know I'm supposed to get off. And as a Christian, I'm conflicted. He said, I understand that this is the world that I'm in and I have to participate. He said, but I feel as though because the raza is so outnumbered, I should use a weapon. And I told him, don't use a weapon. As it is, you're going to have to commit some violence and you're going to have to ask for forgiveness of that. Don't catch a murder in the process. Eh? Keep your eyes open. If you see raza needing a hand, run over there and help them out, give them a hand. But participate. Is it that way everywhere? No. But if you claim to be a Christian and you live with the Southerners, believe that the Southerners are going to pay attention to you when you land somewhere. Is this dude getting wine in the cell when he thinks nobody's watching? Is he gambling? If he's doing anything other than what a Christian should do, then it will be a problem. And he will be considered a coward, hiding behind the Bible, and he will get hit. I have seen men turn Christian in prison and be 1,000% dedicated to being Christian. They never had a problem. And they would hang around with the other Christians. They would worship together. They would study together, whatever they did. And they never had a problem. And then I saw where dudes were faking the funk, saying they were Christian because they didn't want to put in work, but then doing other things when they think nobody's watching, and they get whacked. I've seen that. So hopefully this video answered the question for those asking about residents, people from out of state, and those with religious beliefs. There may be someone with a random question about raza that are Muslims. I only recall 2 times seeing a dude that was from Southern California who was trying to practice Islam. One was in Pelican. No, he was in 2 places with me, actually. He started in New Folsom with us, and he was from San Diego. And the llavero, the guy that was running the yard for the Southerners, also happened to be from San Diego. And we didn't know. Nobody knew until he was issued his property. They issue your property on the yard back then. They had a window on the yard, and you go down there, the property window, and you get your property. And this dude had been on the yard with us for about 2 weeks. And he went and got his property. He opens his property up. And there's always going to be them nosy dudes, especially the broke dicks, right? They want to be all up in, hey, what does he have? You know, what can I bum off of him? And this dude opened his property up and pulled a kufi out and put it on his head, a Muslim hat, the Muslim kufi. And he put it on his head. And I want to say there was gasps like in a cartoon. I'm sure there wasn't, but in my head I heard them loud and clear. Like, what the fuck? He put it on his head. He got on the track and started walking the track. And immediately, the homie that was running the yard, dudes that can clown with them were like, "Orale, check your homeboy out, Holmes. Where's your hat at?" Right? And so he put the spotlight on himself. And he went down to the bottom of the yard, which was where all the blacks are, on B facility, New Folsom. And he was conversing with the Muslims. And a crew was sent down to get him to keep moving on the track and sternly advise him that type of activity would get him hurt severely very quickly. And I don't remember him ever wearing a kufi hat again. He was worn, I will say he was worn, that was the second, he was worn the second time. That was the second warning, was a stern. The first one was like, hey, come on, move on the track. And then the second one was to let him know what was in store for him. And then when I saw him, when we were in Pelican Bay together, he never pulled that hat out. He didn't associate with the Muslims. It's an unfortunate thing, but, you know, that's how it was. The second one was in New Folsom in C facility. And this dude was just a complete mess all the way around. During that time, I was part of the leadership, and he decided to get in a power struggle with me and the rest of the leadership, and he lost that. But he did go to Muslim services, and we made sure that we allowed that to happen because that was going to be another nail in his coffin. The only reason why he wasn't killed on the yard for his insubordination was because he had blood ties to 3 different legends. And we decided we didn't want the headache. He was about to go home, and we told him, go home and don't come back or you will die on a prison yard. And that was not because of his faith. That was because of his stupidity. Anyhow, that's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.